This is an article from Prophecy Today. It can be found as article number 57 in the theology section of articles in World History 3967 website. And it asks the question, how did this nation become so atheistic? What were the driving forces to create a situation where effectively one could argue that there are a majority of atheists in this country, as opposed to Christians. And one of the leading drivers is actually a strange one. It is simply this: observing your parents' lack of faith and not seeing them participate in religious activities, as well as being taught that faith is not a normal part of life, has a major impact on whether a child grows up to be an atheist. When parents say they want to leave it up to their children to make up their own minds, often by their own examples, parents are actually telling children faith does not matter. As a teacher, I notice this in many of the subjects. For instance, I might teach the subject in history, America from 1920 to 1973. Considering that half the nation during that period would have been going to church, there is no reference to Christianity at all in that entire book. It would be a bit like having a textbook which made no reference to women. It is that stark how much, without realising it, we teach children from a very young age that faith does not matter. And therefore it's hardly surprising in the end of the day that this is what turns out to be the case. Another interesting statistic that came up was the influence of fathers in the way children, as it were, inherit the faith. Now, obviously one would argue that everyone has to come to the faith by a personal revelation from God, but the expectation is that much of this will take place in the context of households. And it appears that fathers play a very major role in this. And statistically, it appears that where the father is the first one to come to faith in the family, that there's a good chance the rest of the family will follow suit. So this article is just an interesting example of some literature that gives us a bit of an insight on the reality of modern Britain with atheism on the rise. Well, thank you for listening.